Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of this F1 25 Joshua Pearce career mode. This is part 49 of this series. If you did miss the last episode, Sonny Hayes took a victory for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix to make it his third race win of the season. He is on some fine form at the moment, with Oscar Piastri making an Apex GP 1-2 and my teammate Lando Norris at least getting at McLaren a podium after their efforts, because for myself, it was a disaster of a race in the end. We had the best pace ever. We were on fastest laps. We were closing in for the race lead in Saudi Arabia, only for our turbocharger to implode, and that was the end of our race, and we never will know if I could catch up to the back of the race leader, Sonny Hayes, and in the end, it was a retirement for ourselves, with now Hayes extending his championship lead to 16 points ahead of his teammate Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris in third, 26 points further behind, myself in sixth on equal points with Charles Leclerc, and 1 point behind Lewis Hamilton, with Apex GP leading the Constructors' Championship by 88 points to McLaren, and then Ferrari sit in third, only 19 points further behind. And we're going to take a look at the powertrain, because we've got a major ERS energy store cell upgrade by advancing the thermal stability properties in the cells, and since it is a major upgrade with a 0% failure rate, I'm going to just leave this as the standard development, which will mean it won't make it in time for this round, but it should be on the car for the Belgian Grand Prix, which will be a big up for ourselves. And with that now out of the way, it is time for our second secret meeting with Ferrari, and we can now see the development of the car. So last time we saw the race results from Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Now we can see that the team has a 91% success rate with 63 upgrades on the car. And for us though, we have a lower 84% success rate and only 61 upgrades on the car. So Ferrari have been able to outdevelop us here at McLaren, which is another big tick, and especially after the incident we had in Saudi Arabia with the failure, this gives me a lot more confidence in Ferrari to, in fact, continue talks with the team. That's right, it's going to go to a third secret meeting later on into the season.
Been scouring the socials and asking around, and I'm delighted to say that the team are none the wiser about us chatting with anyone else. And the meeting went well too. I know. I'm amazing. You're welcome.
So that's some very good news, because once again, our meeting with Ferrari is still a complete secret, which means it's going to be good for our reputation with McLaren. And after fast forwarding some time after the season break, we have enough points now to look at this major drag reduction upgrade in the aerodynamics with new side pod profiles, which will increase the efficiency and lower the drag, as this one will also be at a 0% failure rate and will also come in before the Belgian Grand Prix. So Bruno's going to do exactly the same as to what I did with the energy store cell upgrade. So let's do that one, and then now taking a look at the bigger picture, because Apex GP are still by far the quickest car on paper, but look at the gains from ourselves. McLaren and Ferrari have been able to make huge gains, and at a track like Silverstone, these should come in clutch to taking the race to Apex GP. Red Bull Ford bring in some minor upgrades, but have now lost touch with ourselves and Ferrari. It's Mercedes though, closing the gap to Red Bull Ford, and pretty much after all the other teams as well. They've also brought in major upgrades this weekend, with Racing Bull Fords now on level playing field with Audi Sport. It is really starting to close up, so let's go straight into qualifying.
Welcome along everybody to a venue that was built for speed. Once an airfield, now one of the finest racetracks in the world. It's qualifying day here at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix.
We are back at the home of Formula One for the British Grand Prix, and this is going to be one of the most important qualifying sessions of the season, because everyone's going to be remembering who got the pole position for Silverstone, as it is kind of like their crown jewel event in this series. And rounding out our first flying lap here, we're going to go into 6th position ahead of our teammate, but you can see there, now that the checkered flag is flown, we've gone on to another set of brand new soft compound tyres. We are going about a half a second quicker. We had fallen down to 14th position, so we were still in the safe, but I just needed to make sure that we were. We crossed the line in P9, and it's going to be Oscar Piastri fastest by 1.2 seconds, which is absolutely insane pace, and he's ahead of Alex Albon in the Williams, which is absolutely wild scenes. Sonny Hayes is in third, only 200ths further behind. Myself in ninth. Lando Norris is in 12th, only 4 tenths behind me. And knocked out is Gabriel Bortoleto by 700ths. Jack Doohan, Lance Stroll, Paul Aaron, Isaac Hadjar, and Zane Maloney to make it. Both the Audi Sports are out of the first part of qualifying, and they're not making it into this part of qualifying where we now round out our first lap here in qualifying 2. We go to P5, but now we've dropped down to P11. So now we need to put in a very good lap here to be able to get ourselves into the shootout of qualifying 3. We're currently sitting 11th, and we need to find ourselves at least inside the top 10, and that's not how we're going to find the lap time. We've gone wide, and now we've locked up once again, running a little bit wide again, having to go for a much tighter apex line, which now means that coming down at this straight, we are at a bit of a loss because we now don't have the run that we necessarily want. So I have to try and now find it all the way through all of these corners, and it's going to be oh so tight. And you can see I'm dancing on the edge of going into the green, going into the red, and back vice versa. And that is definitely not going to help either, finding the gravel on the exit there, but we make it through the middle sector of the circuit using all of the curb going into the Vale chicane now, and now on the exit going onto the Hamilton straight. How is this lap going to go? Are we into Q3 for the shootout in qualifying? And the answer is yes, as we cross the line in 8th position, and it was a very scruffy lap, that one, but it was just good enough with Charles Leclerc fastest by a tenth to Oscar Piastri, and then it's Max Verstappen in the third, 2 tenths further back, and Lando Norris in 5th, half a second off the pace, myself in 8th, only 500ths further behind. So from P5 to P9, they are separated by only 800ths of a second, which is also wild scenes. But knocked out is Esteban Ocon by 700ths, Carlos Sainz, Kimi Antonelli, Sonny Hayes in a shock exit. What was he doing to come out in qualifying 2? Liam Lawson and Alex Albon makes it both the Williams out of qualifying at their home Grand Prix. And for our home Grand Prix, this has not gone very well. We've gone for a bit of a spin. These are a set of scrub tyres, so there's not a lot of grip left out on them, but I decided to go out for a run to set a baseline lap time, which now means that this lap that we've just completed and are about to complete on a brand new set of tyres was the lap time that we needed to absolute nail, because it was the only set of tyres. So where do we line up? It's 6th position in qualifying 3, which means Oscar Piastri is on pole position for the British Grand Prix, ahead of my teammate Lando Norris by 3 tenths, and then it's the home favourite Lewis Hamilton will have the second row of the grid with Franco Colapinto a further 3 tenths behind. Myself 6, a second away from pole position, needing to find 2 tenths better to get ourselves ahead of Charles Leclerc, who I'm sharing the third row with, and behind is 2 more Brits of George Russell and Oliver Behrman, with Gasly and Verstappen rounding out the top 10.
You join us in the United Kingdom today, or Great Britain as it's alternatively known. Well, it's certainly a great day today as we welcome you to one of the crown jewels of British sports, a track of speed, history and drama. It's Silverstone. It's the British Grand Prix. The 3.6-mile long Silverstone circuit is one of the longest of the season, with 18 corners in the current layout. With average lap speeds reaching around 145 miles per hour, it's also one of the quickest tracks of the year. Watch out for cars taking the right-handers of Abbey and of Copse flat out. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. Oscar Piastri lines up on pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Hamilton, Colapinto, Charles Leclerc and Pearce, Russell, Behrman, Gasly and Max Verstappen, Ocon, Sainz, Andrea Kimi Antonelli and Hayes, Lawson, Albon, Gabriel Bortoleto and Jack Doohan, Stroll, Aaron, Hadjar and Zane Maloney rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And alongside me in the commentary box, my old friend, Anthony Davidson. I love being here at Silverstone. I know you do too. mainly because we get to sleep in our own houses for a week. But what do the drivers enjoy most about this track?
Well, Silverstone's such a challenging circuit, Crofty, more so for the car than the driver, because these high-speed corners at Silverstone really test this modern-day F1 machinery to its maximum. We don't get that many times throughout the calendar. I can only think of Suzuka and Spa, maybe Qatar as well, with that high-energy cornering that you get here at Silverstone. So the drivers love throwing the car around through corners like Copse, Maggots and Beckett's, for example, and it's really influential for your lap time as well.
Okay, let's have a comms check, please. Radio check. Right, mate, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but I want you to treat it like any other race. Let's not make any unnecessary risks, please.
So it being my home Grand Prix does add a little bit more pressure, and after the shambles of the last home race, if you do recall last season, we want some redemption after having those engine issues of the car cutting out during the corners, and this time there is no wet weather to possibly cause some electrical issues. So because of this, we're going for a one-stop strategy, starting on the mediums and then stopping around lap 12 for the hard compound tyres to go to the end. So how is this one going to play out? Because we are now away for the British Grand Prix here in Season 4. And it is a half-decent start, nowhere near as good as the top 4. But we've got an excellent run on Charles Leclerc, a little bit of wheel banging as we go through the first corner. And we do get ourselves ahead and we send it down the inside of Franco Colapinto. Are we going to be able to make this one stick? Because we've got the inside, but now it turns to the outside. Are we going to be able to get the power down on the grippy stuff here on the traditional racing line? No, we can't, but we're going to use a heap of the battery to try and finish this move off, because I know that I've got the pace over Franco Colapinto. I want to get myself ahead of that Red Bull Ford and up to the back of Lewis Hamilton in that scarlet red Ferrari, and that is exactly what I'm doing. I'm now up into 4th position, so we're already up 2 spots from where we started. We're now tucked in behind Lewis Hamilton, who was all over the back of Oscar Piastri, and crucially, Lando Norris, our teammate, has taken the lead away from Oscar, and you can see on our mini-map, he has absolutely bolted away as well, because you can see a clear gap between the two as they now head through these winding S's of Maggots and Beckett's now into Chapel. So it has been a dream start for Lando to try and claim himself a home Grand Prix race win for ourselves. We've also had a good race start to get ourselves up into 4th position, but behind us, it's another Brit of George Russell trying to make the move on Charles Leclerc. Leclerc's had a mare of a race start. He has now fallen down the order. He was towards the pointy end of the field. Now finds himself trying to hold on to his 6th position. He does hold on to it just ahead of George Russell, who is looking very racy. But now it is his teammate's turn of Lewis Hamilton to try and see if he can't get past this Apex GP car. What is happening with Apex GP? They've got no pace at the start of this Grand Prix. You've got Sonny Hayes down in 11th position after being knocked out in qualifying 2. He's only been able to make up 3 positions, and Oscar Piastri is under attack from Lewis Hamilton, and we are right there as well. If we want to try and play ourselves into this battle, we're only about half a second behind, and here goes Charles Leclerc to try and get himself back ahead of George Russell. How is this one going to play out? Because now he's on the outside, which is exactly where you don't want to be, and you can see that is how it's played out. He got shuffled out by George Russell, but back to our onboard, because Franco Colapinto is starting to apply the pressure just a little bit more. He's only 0.3 of a second behind us. We use a little bit of the curb on the exit of Copse corner there, and there's smoke up ahead. There's a yellow flag, and it's Lando Norris. He has got an engine failure. This is terrible news for ourselves, because that's 2 races in a row now. McLaren has gone out of the race. Terrible news for myself, terrible news for everyone else with a Mercedes power unit, and the leader of the race on lap 3 is gone with engine dramas. What is happening? As now Sonny Hayes, what is going on here? Because he is now finding himself up inside the top 10. And it's not just inside the top 10. He's found his way up into 9th. So he's just made 2 passes down that straight. And he's not holding back at all, because he's now down the inside of Oliver Behrman to try and take away 8th position. And that's where the pace is coming from. He's on the soft compound tyres. He's on the soft compound tyres. That's a smart play there from Apex GP. But now makes me think, because if you refer back to our strategy screen, our medium to the hard compound tyres was going to be a bit touch and go with the tyre wear. He's on soft compound tyres. I think Apex GP are giving Sonny Hayes a 2-stop strategy here to start on the soft compound tyres. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that one and see how that one plays out. We've received our first objective of the Grand Prix now to try and stay ahead of Franco Colapinto. So this will be absolutely crucial, but if we're going to make mistakes like that, it's just not going to happen. But we're going to stay ahead just for now. And as Mark is explaining to us, Absolutely crucial for us to stay ahead of Franco Colapinto, because we need to try and stay with this battle right here, because it is a battle now for the race lead with Lando Norris out of the picture. So Hamilton tried to show his nose for the first time, and Hamilton, though, he'll be wanting to try and get that move done, because if you've been watching the series for some time now, we would know Lewis Hamilton is still yet to claim his first victory in Ferrari Red. He's got a few podiums, not a race win yet, and what a way to do it if he was able to get it done at his home Grand Prix. That would be absolute scenes. But here is Oliver Behm trying to go down the inside of Max Verstappen in the Aston Martin Honda, and it is just not possible there. Verstappen with the superior speed around the outside of Copse Corner, and he holds on to that 9th position. Behrman will have to sit back in 10th position just for now, but up ahead on the road, it's Sonny Hayes now getting himself up into 6th position. So from the start of the Grand Prix in a 14th position, coming to the end of lap 6, up into 6th. What pace has Sonny Hayes got? How far can he take this? Because he's now got a little bit of time to find if he wants to get himself inside the top 5. And as I say that, here we go. He's got the DRS on George Russell, and as easy as he does it, before you even get to the braking zone, he's ahead now of the Mercedes, and he can work his way to the back of Franco Colapinto. If he does that, that means he's onto the back of myself as well, because Colapinto's only half a second behind. Behrman now gets that position finally away from Max Verstappen as well. And here we go, Verstappen not letting it go. This is the mentality of a champion, not letting a position go too easy. But this has now brought Esteban Ocon and the other Red Bull Ford into play here. As now you can see on the timing screens, Sonny Hayes, he's in the lane. He's in the lane very early. It's lap 9 of the Grand Prix. Remember, we're going to be going to about lap 12, lap 13-ish, depending how the tyre wear goes. So I think this solidifies a 2-stopper here for Sonny Hayes, unless they reckon the Apex GP car can go all the way to the end on the hard compound tyres. No, it's another set of softs, so they're going for a very aggressive strategy. So I would imagine it's going to be soft, soft, and medium for Sonny Hayes, because I think in qualifying he would have used up all of his soft compound tyres if he's got 2 left, especially in this Grand Prix. So I would say it's going to be soft, soft, medium for Sonny. We complete our first objective, which was to stay ahead of Franco Colapinto. So we've been able to just do that. But to do that, look how much battery we've been using. That is a lot of battery usage. We're down to about only 10-15% battery. So how's that going to play out for ourselves now? Because we've got this long straight now with Colapinto. He's only 2/10 behind us. So he is right there to try and take anything away. He's going for it with the powered DRS. We swing it around the outside. A little bit of contact's made, but it is all still fair. I think a bit of end plate has also been lost for Colapinto. More contact has been made as he slams the door shut, but my nose was still in it. And how is this one going to play out? We still go side by side. Colapinto, he now pulls just ahead. We're pulling back out of the slipstream. Do we dare go down the inside at Copse? No, we think better of it, but look at this. Russell is right in this as well. We go wide on the exit of Copse, and that now lets Colapinto off the hook just a little bit, but George Russell, he is hounding the back of our car. He is reading the parts codes to our gearbox. And how is this going to play out? Because we have got to be careful with whatever attack we put on Colapinto, because Russell's going to probably try and follow us through. Colapinto goes to the traditional racing line. We go to the inside. We make the move on Colapinto, but did Russell also find his way through? Because it looks like momentarily we were 3 wide heading into Stoke Corner, and it looks like we've been able to hold on to that one just for now. Colapinto holds on to 4th position as well, but as we now head down the straight once more, our next objective of the Grand Prix pops up onto the screen to charge the ERS, because we have been using a lot of it to try and hold our position here, because now that we've lost the DRS to Lewis Hamilton and Oscar Piastri, they have just driven away. The DRS was really the only thing keeping us in play for a go at the race win, realistically. And now we've lost that. We've fallen to over 6 seconds behind, and we are now just holding on for dear life to this podium. The problem is, though, around a circuit as fast flowing as this, there's not too many opportunities for us to save the ERS without having to deploy it to try and defend from Colapinto, who has now just been overtaken by George Russell as well. But Oscar Piastri on lap 12, as predicted for ourselves, now is in the lane to make what I would assume is his one and only pit stop from the mediums onto the hard compound tyres. Lewis Hamilton, though, he's going to stay out and possibly try and go for an overcut here. And how do we go here? It's a little bit conservative on the entry speed going into the pit lane. This pit lane is notorious for catching drivers out. Just think back to the 2025 in real life. Grand Prix with Oliver Behrman under red flags, actually binning it into the wall at the pit entry. That's just how tricky of an entry this one is, but we get through without getting a speeding penalty. It's a good stop from the boys and girls at McLaren, and we actually gain a bit of time, I reckon, on our competitors around us, or with everyone else getting caught up with the traffic inside this very tight, very narrow pit lane here at Silverstone Circuit. So we make a little bit of ground on the likes of George Russell. You can see we're already exiting, and he is still very much at the pit lane speed limiter. And so we've got an advantage through there. But here's Sonny Hayes, because he's now filtered his way inside the top 5, now up into 3rd position. But he still has to make another pit stop. Well, he has to if he wants to not get disqualified from the mandatory 2 compound tyres, because he's gone soft so far with his strategy. And for ourselves here, passing the charging of the ERS while we had a bit of clean air, decide to chuck it down into none for a couple of moments there, and be able to harvest as much as we can in case if Russell or Hamilton come into play here. We're 9 seconds behind Hamilton, but no, generally we're pretty good on the hard compound tyres. But George Russell now teetering with the 1 second margin, so he could be a threat in a few laps time, is George Russell. But look at this battle pack here. Pierre Gasly's found himself beautifully inside the top 10, currently sitting in 7th. Does he dare go for the overtake on Franco Colapinto up into 6th position down the inside at Stowe Corner? How is this one going to play out? They all continue going side by side. Is Colapinto going to go down the inside into the Vale chicane? No, he doesn't. So Gasly finds himself now up in 6th position in his BWT Alpine. So it is looking like to be a very good day in the office for the Frenchman, but there is still 10 laps of racing to go in this Grand Prix. Very much all to play for, as now Esteban Ocon's trying to get himself back inside the top 10 in his Red Bull Ford, and he does so, dispatching Jack Doohan and knocking the Aussie outside of the top 10 in his Haas Toyota. And so it is a half alright day in the office for Ocon to be able to get himself back inside some points, paying positions here. But for Sonny Hayes, he now filters himself back into the pit lane for his 2nd pit stop. And it's pretty good timing from Apex GP, because Piastri had only just caught up to the back of him and got inside the DRS. So no being held up, that is, for Oscar Piastri behind his teammate on the older tyres. But he's done pretty well in this 2nd stint. He's gone about 8 laps on these second set of soft compound tyres. But what is it going to be for his 2nd stint? Is it going to be the hards, or is it going to be the mediums? It's the mediums. So he's gone soft, medium. So it's a very, very aggressive strategy for Sonny Hayes in this Grand Prix. And he'll filter himself now out into about 5th or 6th position. No, it's actually going to be a bit further behind than I thought, but it is going to be into a little bit of clean air. So he's going to come out in 8th position, not too far behind Charles Leclerc. Back on board with ourselves, though, because as I said, in a few laps' time, George Russell would very much become a threat, and that is exactly what's happened. We're keeping somewhat pace with Lewis Hamilton. The gap's only gone out to 10.5 seconds, but here's George Russell. He's making his first attack, and he's hit the side of us going into this corner here, and he has given us some barge board and floor damage. That is less than ideal for ourselves. He just absolutely sideswiped us, went straight when we were trying to turn it in, and that is not how you go racing there, George, and that is going to possibly cause us some issues for the remainder of the race. We'll have to see how the car is handling after that bit of contact. And look at Sonny Hayes. He has got so much pace at the moment compared to everyone else on the hard compound tyres, and he has now moved himself up to 7th, and he's got his eyes now set on Franco Colapinto to get himself now up into 6th position if he's able to dispatch that one pretty quickly. But we've got ourselves another objective here, and we need to try and burn off some of this fuel. We've been a little bit conservative with the fuel. We've got over 2 laps left in the tank, and you can see in the bottom corner of your screen there, Sonny Hayes very easily dispatching Colapinto to get himself now up into 6th position, and not too long later, he is now trying to get Pierre Gasly for 5th. So how does this one play out? They're side by side going through Copse Corner, and do they dare go side by side through the S's? Absolutely they do. And the bravery from Pierre Gasly to actually get the position back away from Sonny Hayes is absolutely immense. But now he finds himself vulnerable because Sonny Hayes is going to have the pace down the main straight, even without the DRS, and Gasly with the DRS. Look at the pace of that Apex GP car. He swings it around the outside, and there you go. That is Sonny Hayes now up into 5th position from 14th on the grid. So not a bad recovery drive at the moment. And as quickly as that, he is now caught up to the back of George Russell. But now he's onto the back of George Russell. That means he's caught up to the back of myself, because you can see us there, just there in the foreground as well. So we haven't been able to drop George Russell, and that now means we've got Sonny Hayes for company. And unfortunately, we're not going to just be able to burn enough fuel, but it's not going to be by too much. It's only going to be about by 200 grams of fuel that we haven't been able to burn off that Mark would have wanted us. And Hayes, he's going down the inside of turn 1. He had the pace going down that main straight. Caught me completely unawares. I wasn't expecting him to go for something like that, and so now I definitely know he is a man on the mission. He is definitely going to be trying to come through at a great rate of knots, so I have to be very wise with the way I defend. So here we go, immediately on the defense, going to the middle of the track, forcing him to go around the outside so I can send it back down the inside very late onto the brakes, feeding it extra gears down to third to use a bit of engine braking to make sure that I can get the car slowed down enough before this and next right-hander. And now we're going back onto the old pit straight here. And how is this one going to play out? Because Hayes, he's going to have the run. These are going to be crucial corners going into Cop's Quarter. And we've made contact. We've got the opposite lock going. We've saved it. We've saved it. But somehow we've now lost a few positions. We've lost 3 positions in that ordeal. Gasly, Russell, Hayes, they've all gone through. We've got extra damage now. How is this one going to play out? And Sonny Hayes has received 10-second penalty as well for that one. So that is going to ruin his chance of trying to go for a podium now, because George Russell, just in front of him, does hold that podium. But now the podium goes into the hands of Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly could be on here for a podium at the Silverstone Grand Prix. How is this one going to play out? And here is some replays of what happened. So Sonny Hayes has the run. He's on the curb, on the grass. He's trying to hang out around the outside. And, oh, here we come. Completely sideways. We kind of use him as a buffer to try and make sure we don't go into the fence. And, yeah, I just think that was just kind of 2 cars trying to go for the same bit of road. You can see he really tried to go for the apex, but I was still there. Made a bit of contact. I don't understand how I saved that, to be honest. I should be backwards. Like, look at that. How am I still facing the right way? George Russell absolutely rubbing his hands together because he knows he just got 2 for the price of 1. But he did end up losing that podium position away and does not have a podium anymore. Sonny Hayes currently in 3rd position ahead of Pierre Gasly, and he is now going to be trying to drive away from that gaggle of cars to see if he can't minimize the damage that 10-second penalty is going to do for himself. We now lose a position to Charles Leclerc as well, so the damage that we sustained from that incident with Hayes is proving to be very costly, because we are dropping down like an absolute fly, already half a second away from Charles Leclerc, as now the 2 Red Bull Fords swap positions. And this is a driver who we haven't spoke too much of is since the pit stop phase, because he's lost touch to Oscar Piastri, who was just driven away. Lewis Hamilton currently in 2nd position. Oh no. No, he's going slow. What has happened? Is it a puncture? I think it's a puncture. It is. It's a left rear puncture for Lewis Hamilton with only a few laps to go. We've seen this one before in real life. Leading the Grand Prix, gets the puncture, still holds on to the race win. And then we've seen it with the Ferraris as well in the past, with both Vettel and Raikkonen getting punctures right at the death of the British Grand Prix many years back, if you do recall. And now we're under attack from Esteban Ocon, the other Red Bull Ford. So we've been battling the Red Bull Ford of Colapinto all race long, and now it's time to have a bit of a scrap with Esteban Ocon, the Frenchman. And how is this one going to play out? Because it is for P6 on the road, but I don't want to spend too much time battling him, because I feel like I might still be in a shot, you know, to try and stay within the 10 seconds of Sonny Hayes if I'm able to, because there's only a lap and a bit to go of this one. But with Ocon desperate to try and get himself up into 6th position, because I'm sure he knows I'm wounded, and he knows that Sonny Hayes is going to lose that 2nd position, because I don't think in this final lap he's going to find 6 seconds against Pierre Gasly unless something out of this world happens. But now onto the final lap here. We're under attack once more from Ocon. We go to the outside with Defender, but Ocon with the pace around the outside. Is he going to actually be able to hold on to it? It's going to be a fantastic move. He's got the power down nice and early. He's got the run. And look at this. He's going to pull ahead, but I do not want a bar over. I'm on the battery. I'm still on the battery, deploying everything that I've got. Now down the inside. It went messy last time with Sonny Hayes. This time we get it done cleanly, and that is us now up back into 6th position. Oscar Piastri is going to cross the line to claim victory here at Silverstone. Sonny Hayes, he will cross the line in 2nd position, but where is he going to fall down the order with that 10-second penalty hanging over the top of him? For ourselves, are we going to be able to hold on to this 6th position? Leclerc and Russell, they're battling it out as well. Leclerc gets himself now up into 4th position. That could be a provisional podium, depending where Sonny Hayes falls down the order. We now have to go defensive into the Vale chicane for the final time, because Ocon is still trying to get this position away from us. And now we get greeted to the checkered flag. Do we get ahead of Sonny Hayes as well? No, we don't. We just hold on to a 6th position. We could have got a top 5, but man, that got very messy and desperate at the end.
Oscar Piastri, take a bow. What a performance, what a win.
A great team victory today, Crofty. That's the important bit here. On home soil, the drivers delivered, the team delivered as well, and to do that in front of their home support really means a lot to them.
From lights out to the checkered flag, each and every driver has this moment in the back of their mind. Now it's time for their celebrations. Our podium, it awaits. They give out trophies for the winners. Today, they're Oscars. Your winner today, Oscar Piastri.
My God, what a Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri wins the British Grand Prix with dominance. He did have Lando Norris for company at the start, but after the engine failure for Lando, Oscar was pretty much unchallenged apart from a small battle with Lewis Hamilton. Pierre Gasly takes a shock 2nd position at Silverstone with a brilliant drive, taking advantage of all the carnage, and Charles Leclerc takes home another podium this season as well. So, for my day though, it was looking like I may be able to get a podium, but the contact I had with Sonny Hayes ended that opportunity as the damage sustained from that was just a bit too much to keep up the pace needed, and in the end, Sonny Hayes was penalised for that incident, and I missed out on taking that position back away from him by about 1.2 seconds, but the rest of the top 10 was George Russell, Sonny Hayes, myself in 6th, Esteban Ocon, Franco Colapinto, Kimi Antonelli, Max Verstappen, rounding out your top 10, and Lando Norris was the only non-finisher after the Grand Prix as well with his engine failure in lap 3. Sonny Hayes leads the Drivers' Championship, but it's only by 1 point ahead of his teammate Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris is in 3rd, 51 points further behind. Myself in 5th, 7 points behind Charles Leclerc. Apex GP leads the Constructors' Championship, and Ferrari are in 3rd, just behind ourselves. And I'm losing my heated teammate rivalry with Lando Norris, and I also have a heated championship rivalry with Lando as well. I'm currently trailing that by 55 points. And for our driver ratings, everything except for the racecraft loses some points for the overall rating to remain at 95. And for the driver recognition has swung back into my favour to 53% after Lando's DNF.
It seems as if you have a new rival. This is the perfect opportunity to show the world why you belong in this sport, and to show me why you belong amongst my very exclusive clientele. That's a joke. I love working with you.
So Elena there just confirming the new rivalry with Lando Norris being the championship points one, the second one that popped up on the screen. And that is going to be it for this episode. If you did enjoy it, please make sure to like and subscribe. And for the next episode, we head to the mountains of Belgium where we take on the challenge that is Spa-Francorchamps. I'll see you then.